Well, this plate is exquisite and serving only the finest because today we are talking about a very special game. Super.
Oh, sorry.
Not today. Super.
Columns.
No, not. No. Are you talking about super columns?
No. I could, though.
That's the sad truth. I'm talking about Super Metroid.
Dude, one of the motherfucking best games of all time.
I can't deny it.
I have it. I actually like right now on my wall above my computer. I have a canvas print of Super Metroid artwork. Isn't that neat?
It is indeed fancy and gives you style and etiquette points in Animal Crossing.
Tell me about Super Metroid.
It has button mapping.
Ooh.
That automatically gives it the button mapper approval. It has button mapping, so I respect it. I'll tell you about this game. I'll tell you about my history with not being able to play it.
Okay.
I was always fascinated by Super Metroid, part of it because of its legacy, part of it because of Smash Brothers, part of it because it was on the Super Nintendo, and I started with the Nintendo 64. You know, I tell people that all the time. And there was no real way to enjoy Super Metroid unless, you know, I ran an emulator, and I don't do that. I don't have the laptop for that, and I don't want to start emulating games. So another way to do it was to connect online with the Wii U, which I didn't have a Wii U for a while, and I know that the Ambassador program on the 3DS allowed you to play, but I wasn't a 3DS ambassador, so I always wanted to play it, but I never got that opportunity. I got the Super Nintendo Mini. I started it, but part of the thing about those mini consoles is I have trouble concentrating on them. So when I got the Switch, you know, I was kind of avoiding the online service for a while. But I got the year subscription, and one of the games on the SNES online service is Super Metroid, so I really sat down and played it. And I didn't use any cheats this time, Alex. I cleared it all on my own. I barely consulted a walkthrough, and that was a huge thing for this game. But for the first time, I was really able to sit down and enjoy Super Metroid in 2019. Some like maybe 20 years after the fact of being aware of its existence and its reputation.
Now, I know that you and I are both big fans of Metroid Prime, but have you ever really experienced a 2D Metroid? Like, what's your experience with the 2D side?
Well, I did play around with the emulator once when I had an Android.
Okay.
And so I played a little bit of Fusion, and it wasn't playing right, so you know how the phones are. So I dropped it. I played Zero Mission. I think that's the remake of the first one.
Yeah.
And I played the original Metroid on the 3DS Virtual Console, but I just never make it very far in those, the old ones, you know. It's like a cryptic game, especially on the NES, you know how that thing is. But I did finish the one on the 3DS that was the spiritual successor to the 2D ones, and it's actually very similar to Super Metroid. I wouldn't mind talking about that someday.
Samus Returns?
Yeah.
That one's a remake of 2 on Game Boy.
It feels very similar to Super Metroid, though, I have to say.
Okay.
So that's my experience with 2D Metroid.
I'm a huge Metroid fan. Like, that's one of my favorite series. So I've played all of those games.
I remember I was listening back to our GameCube episode. It was the first button mapper episode we did. And I said something in there like, you know, I like the 2D Metroids, but Metroid Prime is just like on another level. I have to reconsider that question again after having finished this one. Where do you stand on that subject?
I don't know. I think I'm probably still more into Prime because I think Prime is a little more immersive than 2D Metroid. Just on the fact that you have like full scale environments, but it's still the same basic concept. But I can't deny that Super Metroid is like one of like the best like well put together like Metroid style games of all time.
There's a reason that there's so many games that try to do what it does and don't succeed. I think the only one that is really comparable is Symphony of the Night.
Super Metroid has balls, dude. Like that game has like a good atmosphere. Like it can be like that, like damn right, like unsettling at points.
Describe the soundtrack to me.
That's it.
It's pretty much it. Like even the save room theme. Beep, boop, boop.
Yeah,
boop,
it's
boop, 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 boop. That is a game of beeps and boops.
Beep. One of beeps, one of boops. Yeah, I love the atmosphere and Metroid, and Super just like captures it. Like the original Metroid, I will always like be a big fan of the original because like it is cryptic, but I love that game. I think it has great atmosphere for an NES game, but like the amount that like what they're able to do with Super Metroid is like it's almost like incomparable, you know.
I understand why the later games really try and throw back to it as much as they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know Metroid Prime is very similar to Super Metroid in terms of content, despite turning it into 3D.
Yeah, and there's I feel like this is the game that really like set the tone for the entire Metroid franchise. Like the first one had like an eerie space theme, but it's still like when you started it was like and then the one on Game Boy is not really very good. But this is the one that really like sets that tone. It makes me think of like watching like a horror movie.
Although the Space Pirate theme is pretty cool when you first come in. I don't know if Space Pirate, but like the opening theme, it is kind of similar. The score is very similar. The effects, everything's like, it's a beautiful game. I think when you land on the planet, it's raining, and then you see the background. I think the only way to really describe this game is like it's a game that opens up to you as you go through it. Because the same environment is not going to mean the same thing to you, later in the game when you get the space jump boots or the morph ball or, a phase-on beam or, missiles, whatever it is. As you go through and acquire those upgrades, it becomes so much more explorable and cognitively challenging.
Well, and nothing is more rewarding, honestly, than getting a new upgrade and hearing the and because it's just like your brain's just like bing, like, oh, I could do so much more now. I could go to all these new places now.
The game in general is just the pinnacle of rewarding. Like every aspect of discovery when you figure out like how to overcome something. I've started this game several times and I've restarted it and then like I'll get further the next time and then eventually I'm able to play through the whole thing. Usually with this kind of a game I feel like I need the walkthrough. I didn't, but there is one thing I will touch on later that was very tricky for me to pull off. But otherwise the game is just a lot of like fun and very playable, I suppose.
I think Super Metroid's a work of art.
Yeah, and I think art can be flawed too in some ways and still be magnificent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
One of the things I really love is as you said, the atmosphere. There's some amazing encounters, First off, like just the elevator, going down the elevator into a new world. When you discover that new world, when you discover what's on the other side of a wall, when you walk into a room and suddenly it's a boss battle, or sometimes you can even sense that a boss battle's coming before you go to it. The bosses are huge. They might destroy a whole room. And the end of the game too, man, it's a narrative in and of itself.
Man, that first fight with Kraid is like one of my favorites because he's so big.
You fight like a mini version of him first, then there's like an eyeball on the door.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the heck? I can't take this eyeball out. You gotta fire a missile at it or something, super missile. Then you go into Kraid's room. He's coming out of the ground, and he just destroys an entire section of the wall. every boss battle in the game is like something like that, where it just catches you off guard.
I mean, even the intro is like you're walking through like the like laboratory, right? And stuff until you run into Ridley. Like it's like even that's like pretty unsettling for a Nintendo game.
And it gets so much fun, especially, combining everything you learn and applying it later on in the game. I would so play it again. It's the type of game that, by the time you finish it, you're like, huh, that's the only amount of time I spent on it. My playtime was like 6 hours, but I felt like I'd been playing it for 20.
I love Metroid in general, so just the fact that you experienced this game, Teddy, and that you have a newfound love for Super Metroid makes me happy.
Yeah. I do want to say, though, that wall jump is a
that's
pain
tricky.
in the ass.
That is hard.
That is a pain in the ass. The first time I watched those little minion things, like, what is it? Not replicating, but like, imitating the wall jump. I was like, I cannot figure this out. So I had to look something up about how do you wall jump, and it still didn't make sense.
Yeah, it's very unintuitive.
The screw attack is a little better later in the game, but it's still not perfect. But
Now,
I can forgive it,
Having played Super Metroid, would you still prefer Prime over it?
Metroid Prime versus Super Metroid. Decisions. I'm so hard pressed to say because they both give such different but similar experiences. I don't know that I could put one over the other, rather.
Okay. I would still probably pick Prime. I think I'm a big Prime fan.
I think I just like the music more in Prime. But there's also so much I haven't explored in either game. Prime has the artifacts. Super Metroid has missile upgrades everywhere.
Prime has the addition of scanning, which is like one of the neatest gameplay features because it's like instead of having to like stop and read text, you can it's optional and you could just scan everything and learn about everything.
That's true. Even creatures, Chozo, and it's dark in its own cool way. The one thing I think I would give to Super Metroid is the map. I think that thing is a beautifully woven tapestry that deserves a map out, if at all possible.
A map out. One day. One day. We'll map it away.
You can make a song out of that.
Come map away. Come map away. Come map away with me.
Alex and Teddy.
Oh. Without Teddy and Alex.
With Metroid.
Dude,
the Metroids. What was your reaction first time you saw a Metroid?
Ah!
I laughed.
The first time I ever saw Metroid, though, was in the original, and it's just like, it was coming for me. And that game's already hard. So I'm like, ah!
They actually felt a little underpowered in this version, I have to say.
Yeah.
Maybe Samus is just too OP in Super Metroid.